one day, I decided to start something which I had no idea that had not existed before anywhere, and it's called blindfold art. What I take is an Israeli artist and a Palestinian artist, and I put them in front of an easel and a palette of paint, and they blindfoldedly paint simultaneously on the canvas. And that exercise alone brings them into such a close area. They're actually breathing the same air down each other's necks. Then I took the same with potters. I took guys who were dealing with pottery, and actually one of them was an ex-Navy SEALs commander, and he was there with this poor Palestinian guy who was just trying to get into the arts, and they were working together on the block of clay, simultaneously doing something, contraption, I don't know what it was exactly, because I'm playing for them all the time. And then we had dancers blindfolded while we were playing the music. And then we brought refugees from Balata, which is near Nablus, to Jaffa, and had them meet with Israeli kids as part of an organization called Windows, Halonot. And the kids were all blindfolded, and it was beautiful. And then now we're hoping to exhibit some of the artwork in spaces that we'll be given around the world, along with the art of these artists. Each one has respective art. And one of the exercises we do, which doesn't pertain exactly to Israelis and Palestinians, it can be also right here in Atlanta with inner city kids and all kinds of walks of life who meet under one roof, blindfold, and perform some kind of an art discipline together. And this is something that this project really got me excited about. Yes, please.
You give a very strong voice in the film to Muhammad, which is very inspiring to hear him speak about his experiences. And clearly that's a relationship that drew you to the refugee camp and established the workshop there. Do you imagine that extending to the West Bank and other places? And do you have that ambition to take it further? And then two, how can people like us here support such collaborations there?
Thank you. I'll tell you something. Of course, I would want this to spread through the West Bank. I want it to spread through the United States. There's so many problems here on social levels that this sort of an exercise of what I show here on the film can actually be translated into any community. So that would be my biggest dream, my biggest wish. And there is talk about it. I've been meeting with people who deal with, oddly enough, with illegal immigrants who are in Chicago, who are intimidated and have no life outside of their work. They can't walk the streets, etc. And thinking that put communities together through music, etc. As far as my work in Shafat, you see, East Jerusalem was annexed by Israel. So it actually should have all the privileges that any Israeli town has, any Israeli area has. But Israel has neglected systematically of taking care of the basic needs of the people living in the little villages in East Jerusalem, and especially the refugees. These refugees are not even East Jerusalemites. They have absolutely no rights. They're Jordanian subjects, born in Israel, living in Jerusalem. They're nothing. They're displaced people. Nothing has been resolved. We annexed the camp as well as the East Jerusalem, but we have, the country, the municipalities have done nothing. There's no policing, there's no nursing, there's nothing. UNRWA is the only establishment that affords schooling for these kids, and those kids at grade 5 don't even know how to write their names. So I'm thinking, I'm an Israeli. When I worked in Ramle, it's because Ramle was suffering. When I worked in Netivot, in the south of Israel, these beautiful towns that were settled by Moroccans and Libyans and Algerians, who were brought in the 50s and 60s, and as much as Israel could provide, it provided, but a lot was left to the citizens themselves. Today, thank God, those towns are flourishing, and there's a lot, they're in a much better place. So there's not much need for an extreme, immediate help to be given. Shafat, that refugee camp, absolutely needs the help. All the help in the world for me as an Israeli citizen, extending myself and giving a hand to who I would consider, if they're annexed, they're also civilians of my country. I care about them. So if it's in the West Bank, this is not part of my responsibility. Maybe in the grand way, it's my dream. But really, I'm taking care of the problems that my society has. And one of the reasons my Israeli friends are so concerned and worried and afraid of walking around East Jerusalem is because we don't feel that we're part of it. We're not giving him anything. So how can we be part? We're alienating ourselves. So it's a social issue. It's a psychological, social issue. And I want to correct also, I mean, with all my intense purposes, 68 years that Israel exists, it has come from nothing to what it is today. So there's a lot of problems yet to be solved. And I'm sure that these problems will be attended to in due course. I just can't wait for those times. I'm 60. I want this to happen now. So we're doing it.
Well, thank you so much for speaking with us, and we want to give you an opportunity to play now.
Let's see.